Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, you mentioned a little bit. I mean, my family story is it was just like many people in Malaysia who came here from China or elsewhere during the war. My parents moved. They were displaced during the war too, right? So there was a lot of movement around the world that was happening. I think a lot of Chinese came to Malaysia. A lot of Chinese went to the U.S. So my parents went there, and I think my family actually is an example that the American dream is very much alive. At least during that generation, it was very much alive. I mean, we weren't the same like some of these founders you meet that said, "Oh, I came with $10 in my pocket," but we pretty much had to leave everything behind, And my grandmother's story was always a very sad one. I felt like because when she left, she said bye to her parents, thinking she would see them again, and because of the closed door for I don't know how many years, decades, she never saw her family again after she left. But I think in the U.S., I think about all those generations of the work they put in. They actually did quite well. They've done well. Like our family, my uncle's a venture capitalist. Another uncle is a PhD scientist, research scientist. My mother was a computer programmer, and my dad was a professor. So I think there's a lot of that generation really experienced the American dream work out for them, but at the same time, that's financially, right? Like if we're just talking about the American dream being like getting a house, being able to have a nice car, living a comfortable life, living in safety, yeah, all those things were achieved. But I think there's also the next element of, well, are you really American and do you really feel American
Mm.
and how is that, playing out for you? That's the second piece, right? Yeah.
And how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I would say that's still something that we're all working on. That's still like something that we're really passionate about and why we do what we do in the film world, right? Because I feel like, tolerance versus acceptance are two different things. I think America likes to say it's a very tolerant place, and I think in generally it is. It does accept people of different, backgrounds. That we're supposed to be a country of immigrants, and we are. And I think there is still opportunities there. But I think the difficulty is, when you look like if you're European, right? Let's say you're from Germany or Sweden or whatever. After a generation and you talk with the American accent, people are never going to be able to notice that you're from somewhere else. But if you're Asian or South Asian or Indian or whatever, they'll forever be able to see that you don't look the same. And I think that there's a certain mindset that we're all trying to change, which is that you're a perpetual foreigner in the U.S. No matter how long you've been there. I have some friends who are Asian American whose family have been there since the railroad days, so they're as American as American pie. They've been there for so many generations they don't even speak Chinese anymore. And yet when you see the person, you might still think, oh, they're a recent immigrant. And so that's part of why we do what we do. And we've been doing Asian American films since the beginning of our production company, which was 10 years ago. And I think the idea is you win people with the hearts and minds first. And if people can relate to you in a story they see in a film or TV show, they can see you more as a equal or as a person, rather than just like a foreigner or someone there to take their job or something like that. Right?
Yeah, having that Oriental look will always stay with you, right? And ironically, in Malaysia, that's the case as well. You'll always be seen, even though you're fourth or fifth generation, you know this, Rachel, right? You're still seen as the visitor, right? Do you know what I mean? And ironically, Michael Fassbender, who is, obviously Austrian or whatever it is, he's accepted as an American. You can say the same thing about Arnold.